Late one night, Jessie's stepfather received a panicked call from the 8-year-old, begging to be picked up from her dad's house without telling her mother. Racing across town, he arrived to find the back door wide open and Jessie trembling in a kitchen covered in cake batter. Jessie and I have always been close. Ever since her mom and I got married, we've built a bond that feels almost like I've been in her life forever. She's 8 now, with bright blue eyes and a smile that could melt anyone's heart. But tonight something was wrong. Usually Jessie loves staying at her dad's house. It's not too far from ours, and she enjoys baking and doing little projects with him. But tonight felt different. It was late, just past 11 p.m., when my phone buzzed, breaking the silence. Jessie's name flashed on the screen. I answered right away. "Jessie? What's wrong?" Her voice was barely a whisper. "Please come and get me. You have to come now," she said, sounding terrified. I could hear her sniffling like she had been crying for a while. "And don't tell Mom." My heart dropped. I tried to stay calm. "Jessie, what happened? Are you okay?" "I can't. I just need you to come now," she begged, her voice shaky. "Please." Before I could say anything else, the call went dead. I stood frozen for a second, my hand gripping the phone. 1,000 thoughts ran through my head. What had scared her so much? Was she hurt? Was her dad angry? Jessie had mentioned before that her dad used to have a temper, especially before he and her mom split up. He was supposed to have worked on it, but what if something happened? I didn't waste any more time. I grabbed my keys and rushed to the car, my pulse racing. The drive across town felt like a blur. I pushed the speed limit, my mind jumping from one possibility to the next. "Stay calm," I told myself, gripping the steering wheel tighter. "She's fine. She just needs you." But what if she wasn't fine? What if her dad had yelled at her, or worse? Jessie had never called me like that before, and it terrified me. As I drove, I remembered the times Jessie had hinted at how her dad used to get angry. She hadn't said much, just little comments here and there, but I could tell it still bothered her. I tried to push the thoughts out of my mind, but the knot in my stomach tightened. Finally, I reached the house. Jessie's dad lived in a quiet neighborhood, but tonight it felt eerie. I parked in front and noticed something that made my heart skip a beat. The back door was wide open. I jumped out of the car and ran toward the house. "Jessie," I called, my voice louder than I meant it to be. No answer. I stepped inside, my shoes crunching on something sticky. I looked down to see cake batter splattered across the floor, frosting smeared on the counters, and whipped cream dripping from the ceiling. There, in the middle of the chaos, was Jessie. She stood frozen, her hands shaking, a whisk dangling from her fingers. Her face was streaked with tears, her eyes wide with fear. "Jessie," I whispered, walking slowly toward her. She didn't move. It was like she was too scared to breathe. I crouched down to her level. "It's okay. I'm here. What happened?" She looked at me, tears spilling down her cheeks again. "I'm sorry," she sobbed. "Please take me home. Dad's going to be so mad. You don't know him like I do. He's going to yell." I hugged her tightly, feeling her tremble in my arms. "Shush. It's okay. I'll take care of it," I whispered, trying to calm her. But inside I was just as scared as she was. Jessie pulled back, wiping her eyes with her sleeve. "I didn't mean to make the mess. We were making a cake. And then the mixer had just exploded. He went to the store to get more eggs, and when he comes back..." Her voice trailed off, but I knew what she was thinking. She was terrified of her dad's reaction. Just as I finished comforting Jessie, the front door creaked open. Her dad, Mark, walked in holding bags of groceries. He was smiling, probably thinking about the cake they were making. But the moment he saw the mess in the kitchen and Jessie's tear-streaked face, his smile disappeared. He set the bags down slowly, his eyes darting between Jessie and me. "What happened?" he asked, his voice soft but filled with concern. Jessie tensed beside me, gripping my arm tightly. I could see the fear in her eyes, like she was expecting a fit OD rage. But Mark didn't yell. He didn't even raise his voice. He just stood there, looking at his daughter, and the realization seemed to hit him all at once. "Jessie," he said quietly, stepping closer. "Are you okay?" Jessie didn't answer. She kept her head down, her hands twisting the hem of her shirt nervously. Mark crouched in front of her, his eyes searching her face. "I'm not mad," he said gently. "I promise." Jessie looked up at him, tears still shining in her eyes. I didn't mean to make the mess," she whispered. "I didn't want to ruin everything." Mark's face crumpled, the hurt in his eyes unmistakable. "Jessie," he began, his voice thick with emotion. "I'm so sorry," he glanced at me, then back at her. "I know I wasn't a good dad before. I know I used to get angry and I scared you. But I've worked so hard to change, I've been to therapy. I'm not that person anymore." Jessie sniffled, wiping her nose with the back of her hand. "But what if you get mad again? What if you yell like you used to?" Mark shook his head slowly. "I won't. I've learned how to control my temper. I know I hurt you before, and I'll never forgive myself for that. But I want you to trust me. I don't want you to be afraid of me anymore." He reached out, taking her small hands in his. "You're my daughter, and I love you. I'm not perfect, but I'm trying every day to be better for you. You don't have to be scared of me." Jessie's lip quivered, and for a moment she looked like she didn't believe him. I stepped in, placing a hand on her shoulder. "He's telling the truth, Jessie," I said softly. "I've seen how hard he's worked. People can change." She hesitated, glancing between the two of us, and finally nodded. "Okay," she whispered, "but I don't want you to yell at me. Ever." Mark nodded, his eyes misty. "I won't, I promise." There was a long, quiet moment between them, and then Mark stood up, looking around at the kitchen. "Why don't we clean this up together?" he suggested gently. "You, me, and, well, your stepdad too, if he's up for it." Jessie's eyes flickered with uncertainty. "You're not mad?" Mark smiled softly. "Not even a little bit." Slowly Jessie nodded again, and together the three of us began picking up the mess. Mark handed her a towel, and she wiped down the counters while he cleaned the floor. I helped where I could, rinsing dishes and throwing away ruined ingredients. At first Jessie was still quiet, her movements slow and careful, like she was afraid of doing something wrong. But as we worked together, the tension in the air started to fade. Mark made a few light-hearted comments about the cake explosion, and soon Jessie let out a small giggle. "That mixer really went crazy, huh?" Mark said, glancing at the whipped cream still clinging to the ceiling. Jessie smiled for the first time that night. "Yeah, it was like a volcano." We all laughed, and just like that, the fear seemed to melt away. Jessie relaxed, moving more confidently around the kitchen. Mark and I exchanged a relieved glance, knowing that a little bit of trust had been rebuilt tonight. After the kitchen was spotless again, Mark turned to Jessie. "How about we try that cake one more time?" he asked. Jessie hesitated for a moment, then smiled. "Yeah, let's do it." We worked together, and this time there were no disasters. Jessie even cracked the eggs herself, her hands steady and sure. As the cake baked, the three of us sat at the kitchen table, the warm smell of vanilla filling the air. By the end of the night, Jessie looked up at me and said, "I think I'm going to stay here tonight." I smiled, feeling a sense of relief wash over me. "That's a good idea, Jess. I think you'll be okay." Mark smiled, his eyes still a little red from earlier. "I'm really glad you're staying, Jessie." She nodded, her eyes no longer filled with fear. For the first time in a long while, it felt like they were starting to heal.